just want to commend the left side of the council for sitting in their seats and being quiet so nicely.
Compared to. Depends on which side is the left. Your left
That's
or the
right.
audience.
That's right. Is that stage left or stage right?
I'm a leftist over here.
Okay, we'll try. Okay, and not 6:03.
6:03.
6:03. All right, let's call the City of Milton Common Council meeting to order Tuesday, November 1st, 2022 at 6:03 p.m. And can I get confirmation of appropriate meeting notice?
Meeting notice was posted on Friday, October 28th at Milton City Hall, Milton Piggly Wiggly, and Hometown Ace Hardware.
And can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Is there anyone opposed? We have an agenda. Pledge of Allegiance. I think Linda wants to lead us. Our meeting dedication.
Public comments.
What? Public comments. Is there any public comments for items that are listed on the agenda and can be acted upon by the city council? Okay, and we have some presentations on the agenda that we will get to, and now we'll go through to our meeting dedication. And I'm going to do the meeting dedication tonight, and I am dedicating this meeting to all of the election clerks, all of our local election clerks, all of our statewide election clerks, and all of our clerks around the nation that have been working hard and will continue to be working hard for our November election. And we appreciate their dedication and their hard work and everything that they do to make sure that our elections run smoothly. So a big shout out to Jenny. Thank you. Approval of minutes from October 25th, 2022.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding waiver of fees for Milton annual Christmas tree lighting. And do we have anybody that is speaking on this, or?
They were not able to attend tonight, so I'll be presenting some comments that they gave. So Farmhouse Finds is planning to host the annual Christmas tree lighting at North Goodrich Park. This will be similar to last year's event. So this year, the change is they actually have a tree that they've talked to the Department of Public Works that has been previously decorated in the past. They'll just be doing a little bit of a different decoration for it. Department of Public Works is planning to still decorate it, and then they'll be adding some additional decorations. And so as part of the event though, since they are unsure of what the temperature is going to be, they requested to have the use of the community house. So since the Farmhouse Finds is a for-profit business, then our special event ordinance requires that the city and the Common Council decide if they want to waive the fees for the use of the community house. So they, Tyler Olson, who from Farmhouse Finds, has requested this for me to let everyone know that he hopes that this will be a successful event again this year, and that also adding the bathrooms, the community house will be a good portion for allowing people to use bathrooms. They can stay a little longer. Plus, then also if it's cold outside, they can use that area to warm up.
Questions or comments?
I think that this is a great thing to have going on again this year. I don't know exactly what tree that they're planning, or is there which end of the park? Say, man. Okay. I think it's awesome. And as much as Mary Milton has become an event in the city, I think that we should waive this because this is a totally public weekend for everybody. And when I don't know how many of you all have ever been on the walk that we do over that weekend too. It's really nice to have a place to stop and to have the bathrooms and the park open for that also.
And just to be clear, this is not for Mary Milton. This is a separate event. Okay. Mary Milton's next on the agenda.
Yes, that's correct.
I would also speak of waiving the fee. I think the intention of the fee is for commercial kinds of events. And although a private entity is arranging it, it really is a public event. And consequently, I think it's appropriate.
Anything else for anyone?
Mayor, I would make a motion that we approve waiver of the fee for the community house as a part of the Milton annual Christmas tree lighting event.
I would second.
There's a motion and a second. Anything else for anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding special event permit application for Mary Milton. Hello. Hi there. First name, last name, address.
Charla Walker. What was the last part?
Address.
Address? 646 College Street, Milton, Wisconsin. 53563.
Kate Peterson, 650 College Street, Milton.
I may jump around, so stop me if you have any questions, because it's a lot further planned than I thought it would be. So, imagine a vintage Christmas downtown near Goodrich Square Park. There's a lot of newer businesses, and there has been successful vendor events over the summer that we've seen. We're carrying that forward to doing a Mary Milton market, focusing on vendors that will be selling wares of that you can purchase for like Christmas presents is kind of a key aspect of it. It's going to, we envision shutting down College, so we're asking to shut down College Street. We are asking to shut down actually the entire roads around the square, Goodrich Square, which would be High Street, Janesville, part of Madison, and Parkview, and College. And there's a few different reasons why. So we're hoping this is the first annual event to kind of kick off a Mary Milton full weekend, if you will, Mary Milton. We're hoping that by doing the vendors, we're hoping there will be a few food restaurants that will be open. We're hoping the Ice Shanty is planning to be open by then. Of course, Shella's Bake Stop will be open. I'm asking in talking with Natalie's to see if they could do something special, and then the Cove offering food as well, hoping to keep that all internal. Otherwise, we are planning on popcorn. And the mini donut guy as far as food trucks go, but really focusing on the spirit of the holiday. Keeping the vendors low. We are looking at possibly as cool as draft horses with a vintage wagon going with rides around the square. As simple as maybe a hayride with a tractor. We're not sure. So we're kind of shooting for the moon at this point. We talked about parking as a possibility of maybe just shutting down one side of the street for the horse slash carriage to go around, and then people are able to park on the other side of the street. Um, and so that we kind of talked about that. Otherwise, I'm going to talk to Rip or the school about handicap parking there as well, to keep them close to the Parkview area. Now on this horse or hay wagon, we're looking at different stops. So I don't know if you've been to the Threshery, but something similar to that where people can get on and off. So we've been working with the Milton House Museum, and we're going to have Father Christmas at the stables outside with some cider and cookies for the kids. We also are going to have a donation drop for gifts for kids, for people to the community to drop off gifts. We have the Youth Coalition that is actually doing volunteer gift wrapping for donation, of course, if it's for our stuff, personal things. And then we have a lot of the different businesses doing different special events like jewelry making, ornament making, things like that to kind of engage people. And we're also have reached out to the Rock County Children's Museum to see what we can do for like kids kits to keep them engaged. Now I envision in the future, I know we're talking about this year, but in the future, I would love to see trolleys come in and start talking to some of the bigger businesses to get this to become an entire Milton thing where we're taking people doing different stop at Northleaf. I'm talking to Charming Bees, and then also Junction, so that we have people going to both sides of town. So it's not just always one sided. That's future. This is like a 3-month idea that we've been working on. So we also are looking at, we are charging the vendors and the businesses a nominal fee. So whatever outside of, we're asking to waive expenses at this point for the community. But if there is expenses, we're looking to charge that nominal fee to vendors and businesses, but then whatever's left over giving to the Shining Stars program for their gift giving for the community. I think I hit everything. Is there any questions? Yeah,
Questions,
there's a lot.
comments?
Have the road closures been approved by DPW or anything like that? Because I would think that'd be pretty hefty effect on the city.
So that is part of what the reason why this is on the agenda tonight is because there is a waiver of fees for anything that the city does. So any of the Department of Public Works fees, but also the approval of the road closure.
Right, because I think usually we just have to waive the fees. It's not so much approving the road closure. So this is a different case.
We do because it is a for-profit. No matter what the event is, if there's any waiver of fees or road closures, and also staff. So came together and we said that since this is a new event, we wanted to bring it to council for opinions.
Mark, what's your opinion on the closures?
As far as the closures, they're state highways, so we have to notify the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and work with Rock County for a detour, which is something that we do for, like the 4th of July, for example. As far as the closure itself, I guess I have an opinion on that. The cost of doing the signage and the detour, it's probably going to be somewhere in the $600 to $1,000 range, with it being at night, possibly overtime to set that all up and take it down.
And this is a little bit more expanded than what we've done for the Milton. Is it a little bit more
It's a similar closure to the
the
Gainesville Street closure for Civil War Days, I think it was.
Civil War days? Just a second, I'm not finished yet. So similar to like the Milton House Civil War days, or the Chamber Chicken Milton House Arts and Crafts thing, a little bit similar
Yeah,
to those events too.
The difference is that we're not able to use Parkview for the detour like we are for those events, so that the state route closure is similar to those, but because the request for Parkview is also included, we have to detour traffic similar to what we do for the 4th of July, which can all work out. It's just
Okay. And then what do we do for the 4th of July detour? That's a nonprofit, so it's looked at differently, or?
I don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't get reimbursed for costs for that.
No, that event has been going on for quite some time, and so no, that isn't. This is a new, since this is a new event, that's why it was brought to council, to gauge what the thoughts are on it.
Go ahead, Larry.
How long would you anticipate? What's your thought for the closure? Just so I have a sense. But.
So the event will be from 5 to 8. Yeah. So I would imagine, I mean, we would probably want to shut down college because that's where the vendors are going to be earlier. Yeah, like 3 o'clock, I think it's worked before. But then as far as the other, I guess the road around Goodrich Square, I mean, ideally, in what we're kind of starting with here is, it isn't my goal to plan this huge event on my own. I mean, I would love for the chamber or a committee or a group or a nonprofit to take this. I'm looking, I know people have really asked a lot about, toyed with the idea of like a night parade. So I just decided in this request, we would love to, I don't know how we would, I originally talked about maybe like a U shape and not touching Janesville Street. But if we do the horses, that's kind of hard to maneuver, and then you're kind of having them swing around into Janesville Street already. So that's why I just decided to ask for all of it, and then we'll just see where we go from there, and what you guys approve.
And what are the streets that you want to close?
Yep. So it's going to be, what is that? 51 Janesville Street, the portion just around the square. Madison, Parkview, a little bit of High, back around to Janesville. I did talk to, one of the concerns was Northleaf, just because obviously it affects them greatly. I did talk to Gail. She's loving it. She wants to have, she is concerned, of course, if there is a traffic issue. That's why I told her we'd talk about it depending on what the council said. But she's already like, I want to do mulled wine and I want to have carolers at my stop. So she will have to, I mean, it's like the details that we have to kind of figure out.
Where would there be parking? Because, you know, with the other closure, there was access to the parking on Parkview that served as kind of a primary parking. If those streets are closed, where would people park?
So one thing I had one idea is if we could shut down one side of the street, we only need one lane this year, and see if people could park on one whole side of the street going around the square would be available. And then handicap parking at the school. And at this point in time, we don't have the intention of many food trucks, if any. And so that skinny lot would be available potentially for handicap, and then maybe the school Black Hawk available. Oh, and then we did talk about, I forgot, we talked about opening the community house for bathrooms and warmth, depending on the weather. So did that answer your question on the parking? Otherwise, College, Greenman is tons of street.
So the angle parking would not be available? I'm just trying to figure out how people would access the angle parking along Parkview. If
the only,
even,
if we're able to shut down the streets, and I don't see us using both sides of the angled parking, is what we talked about, having some of that for handicap, then the side streets, and then if people, well, yeah, they would have to do one side of the street all the way around the square would be available.
I'm trying to envision how I get to the parking though. If High Street is closed and Janesville is closed and Madison is closed, and
well, if
College
you
is
went down
closed.
Madison and you were able to turn like at the laundromat, you could park, like I'm envisioning, you could park along that whole side where the houses are, which is adjacent to like all the business side and the school side. All of that would be available for parking, and then they could take a right on Greenman, or what is that other street?
Just a second. So we have to have everybody at a mic, and Chief would like to make a comment.
It's time for the fun killer. I'm so sorry. I
on,
love you
Scott.
guys. So I am uncomfortable with shutting down Janesville and Madison, our through state highway, in the dark on a Friday night in September or December. I think the detours that we traditionally use, if Parkview's closed, that's what we traditionally use for Civil War days, that's out. Our detour for July 4th is Janesville Street heading north out of town. So if Janesville Street is closed also, we would have to completely redo our detour plan. That could go up High Street to John Paul, which is traditionally one of the intersections one of the intersections in town we have the most accidents at, to be honest with you. So increasing the traffic through High Street makes me uncomfortable, but High Street might also be closed. So I just feel from a safety perspective and the options available to us to detour a state highway, I would like to see Janesville and Madison remain open, which speaks to the question that Bill had about access to parking, which could be accessed from the Janesville Street side. I'm also uncomfortable with keeping half of a roadway open for traffic for parking and having pedestrians and potentially animals also in the same space. I just see some safety issues with that.
I'm not sure that the state would allow us to close just one half of a state highway as well, additionally. And even if it is one-way traffic, which way? And what if somebody's coming from the other way? So yeah, again, not to be the no fun people, but there's challenges with closing a state highway anyways. Closing it at night on a Friday night in an unfamiliar time makes it more challenging. And all of our options for detours are now cut off, short of having people drive up 26 to County N. But if you wanted to access something in the city, St. Mary's to Hilltop, it just becomes really challenging. Do you need to close the road at all?
Well, I was just going to ask that. Yeah, is there some kind of, can we still run a hayride / or horse and buggy without having to close the street? I mean, are they allowed on the road?
I would defer to Scott on that, but if we put no parking on north side of High Street, west side of Janesville Street, they could ride the carriage in the parking lane.
Because you know how you see those events where it's like no parking signs, per police issue or something? Is it the nighttime concern, or is it just one lane a concern?
Yes, I think both.
Both.
So one of the things that I was just kind of envisioning how to get the best of all possible worlds here, and kind of to then kind of connect up to our prior events where we've seen it work and it's worked okay, is just closing Parkview and then using the driveway that goes through North Goodrich Park for access to the Milton House. So they'd be crossing the roadway, but not operating in an open roadway. And
so that isn't a problem, just crossing it?
I would be more comfortable with that than either closing the roadway or having a hayride or a horse and buggy, again, in the dark, operating on the same roadway that traffic is open.
So you're saying go through past that lane that the community center is on, and just crossing Janesville into, then they still get to the Milton House Museum.
Then go in the Milton House parking lot, make a turn, and come back.
Okay, so that's a good idea.
Now, crossing a state highway has its own issues, but it's any other car that parks there would have to cross the highway and look both ways and do all that. So That I have less concern with.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
Another approach might be to have the horse carriage ride go down, alongside of the Milton House on that, sorry,
Stores Lake.
Storrs Lake Road, yeah, thank you. I mean, that
Yeah.
would be possible, that might be a little safer even for that, you
Yeah.
know? They could go down and turn around and come back.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
one of the parking lots where the businesses are, the commercial businesses are.
if you're going to Stores Lake though, you're going to be operating the buggy on open roads
Yeah.
rather than just crossing the road.
I agree, but I was just throwing that out as another option. You could mark it.
Yeah, they just need to turn around. They're at the Father Christmas stables. Okay. Now I won't even bring it up. Can a trolley be on the road? Is that like, do I have to close down the street for a trolley?
You don't have a trolley.
We don't have a trolley yet.
They're
They're
road legal.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not an issue.
Looks like a trolley.
So if I scurried, I'm just saying, like, that might be my thing. Okay. That's what I hear you saying.
But that implies that the road's gonna stay open though too.
Absolutely.
You know, because the roadway will be open, but a trolley like a small bus or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's different to me than an open carriage with human beings being pulled by horses in the dark.
Okay.
So
So that may be the safest. Yeah. Okay. So, but we still would want to close down part of Parkview and College.
Doesn't sound like that's as much of an issue, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the same map as what the night market's been before.
Because then they can still get to the skinny lot and drive through there.
Yep.
That worked well.
Yep. So then we can have
And the side
handicap
streets for
there.
parking.
Larry or Mike?
You could also talk to like the church.
St. Mary's.
St. John's and St. Mary's, they have big parking lots. And they might
Yeah, I was going to
let
talk to the
people park
connecting
there.
church, St.
So, yeah.
Baptist, St. Second Baptist. Yes, yes. There's like 3 big churches there with lots of parking. It was my backup, but now that we're not closing down roads.
Okay, so can you summarize your request for the council?
Okay.
Or,
Okay, let me make sure okay. So our request is then to close down Parkview between Greenman
And at that, right at the cove. before-
and right at the cove. So like where the splash pad is. Okay. So we still have access to the skinny parking lot
Both ends.
on both ends and the first part of College in front of the businesses, not in front of the houses.
okay, and then did they have to fill out another form to request the Milton House and the waiver of the fees?
They don't need to fill out the form. They will eventually fill out the form, but for the approval or denial of it tonight, you can discuss it and make a motion on that portion.
And we're asking for fees to be waived for our first annual. Now that we don't have to shut down the roads, Mark.
Is the council clear on what they're requesting? Okay,
Okay, then. So I'll make a motion that we approve this event, including the road closure from Greenman down to the Cove Bar on Parkview and closure of College up through the end of the businesses, the B3 district of the businesses, and including the use of the Milton House and waiver of fees for use of the house.
Community house.
Community house, sorry. Did I get it?
Second.
all right, there's a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Did everybody vote? Okay, that motion carries. All right, so you got a lot.
We'll see you all there.
Good luck.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion, direction, and possible action regarding municipal court And I think we have some comments up at the podium.
Good evening.
First and last name and address.
I'm Kristen Keffler, the municipal judge for the city of Milton, and our esteemed clerk of courts, Chris Klubertans, who has worked with our courts for how many years?
16.
And survived quite well. And the reason I asked to address the council is both Chris and I serve on statewide education committees, and we've been encouraging all the courts to be more transparent about fees collected and some kind of, balance and checks, and just letting the public know what your court does. We found that there's a number of courts that are doing exceedingly well and some other courts that need to come up to speed. And
Quick question. What does a court doing well mean? Like, I don't know what that
they
means.
are keeping their records, collecting their money, sharing it with the city in the appropriate fashion, working with the entities, have integrity, hold their court. And then there are one or two courts that have frankly had some problems. And in particular, one court is going to be shut down at the end of a term because they've had some problems. And in my personal opinion, that's probably a good idea because they've had problems with transparency and people knowing what's going on. And so I am just doing my due diligence and wanted you to know we have a really great clerk of courts. We get lots of extra training, both myself and Chris, that's actually paid for by the state Municipal Judges Association, because we do volunteer work and organizing and work with the education committee. And Chris is serving on two committees now. They are.
I'm actually on the education.
And just last month, she presented in Green Bay, to the Judges Association so that they could get a better idea of what the clerks have as possibilities. For instance, in the city of Milton, you in your budget have money for the software that's called the TIPS program, and that keeps things transparent. That gives us that check and balance. It's a really good program, but there are some courts that are so small, they haven't wanted to spend the money to do that. And that's a big mistake. It can create a lack of transparency, and it's like leaving the keys in the car for the teenager. It's not good to have cash being collected and no checks and balances. But the city of Milton has that very clearly. And you get your monthly reports, actually. So I wanted you to know that. And I also wanted you to know I gave you some handouts in your packet. We have a superb juvenile justice program. We've got the only program in the state where we can refer kids to 5 weeks of counseling or 5 sessions at UW-Whitewater for free. And they need to be accompanied either in Zoom or in person with the parent the first time. But after those 5 sessions, then the judge offers a $25 forfeiture if they complete the counseling. And so what that does is as you can imagine, really takes a punitive system and turns it into an opportunity of learning. And young people, especially parents, are more inclined to learn from their mistakes and be supportive of the youth if we can get them counseling and do it across time. So that's been a really good program. We also have a connection with our community and do community service. It makes a lot more sense. I always have to ask for the parents' permission to offer community service, and I simply do it $10 per 1 hour per $10 of the forfeiture. So let's say your fine is $124. It would be a $12 or 12-hour community service for then a $25 forfeiture. And most parents take advantage of that and then help their young person follow through on the community service. I gave you a copy of the form that we use, and we had a meeting quite some time ago, but our businesses haven't changed, with nonprofits that actually have insurance that would cover volunteers and community service. So we want it to be safe for everybody. And as judge, I try to make the referrals appropriate young people who would benefit from that kind of experience. Otherwise, I just ask them to go to the dog park with a bag and clean up, and that seems like a worthwhile endeavor as well. Some other things we have is online computer avenues, like if young people are caught vaping or if there's a brush with alcohol. One of my favorite sentences includes visiting a college or technical school campus. Give me a one-page paper. Tell me what you learned if you could see yourself there. And then I ask that to be included as part of their community service hours. If we can get young people to think beyond the weekend, it's a win for all of us. Some of the other things that we look at are just a straight fine. If there's a person, for instance, I have had young people, it's my desire if somebody acts out in class at school, that they write a letter of apology to the teacher. That makes sense. And I review it before it gets sent. And one time I had a parent who told me, my child apologizes to no one. And so that young person got the full forfeiture. I don't do that very often because the full forfeiture doesn't mean that the young person pays it. Lots of times somebody else steps in and pays it. I always ask for restitution, and if you've ever been the victim of a crime, you know how important that is. So, and that comes first. Any forfeiture is paid after restitution. The community needs to be made whole first. The nice thing about our schools is they don't look at tickets as the first problem solver, and our Officer Schneider is really good. The teachers are very creative, and the school system is very creative at trying to come up with a graduated system that makes sense to the youth, the parents, the teachers, and is fair. And at the end of that, if you still have somebody who is not following through, then they get a ticket and they come before the court. And then I start to try to do some problem solving and working with them. And again, lots of times it'll include some counseling or community service. I try to do things that are probably going to be restorative rather than just punitive. But I always have that as an option. You know, if this person needs to just pay the fine and lose their driver's license, and then their name gets sent to the tax collection if they fail to pay it, that's all their choices. So that's spelled out to them. And if they want to earn their way and keep their driver's license or be able to earn the right to get their license, they know what those choices are too. So that's just a small thumbnail. You'll have my clerk, whose phone is right around the corner, and myself. If you ever have questions, please ask. If you have questions right now, I'm happy to entertain it, but I know I'm 9th on the list of 18 things tonight. So does anybody have any questions?
I have a comment. I appreciate both of you very much. And I really like the idea of the restoration effort rather than, you know, just punitive. So I applaud you both for that. So.
Well, thank you. It's always my job when young people are in front of me. Chris will introduce the young person, tell me what they're charged with. We ask the parent and the young person to sit down, and then I ask the young person to please introduce the adult with them. It gives them an opportunity to show respect to their parent or their guardian or grandparent or older brother and sister. And it gives me an opportunity to see the lay of the land. It's my job to know the difference between young people who are criminal and doing things with a very malicious attitude and intent, and between the majority of young people in Milton, which I'm happy to say are just making stupid mistakes. And if you treat a person criminally who's making stupid mistakes, you don't help anybody, including our community. But likewise, if you don't take it seriously when it is a serious intent. And I also have the opportunity to refer things up. I can go to circuit court. And if I have questions after a person has pled guilty or been found guilty, I can call the city police department and say, you know, are there some other alternatives in here that I don't know about? What's going on? How can we look at this? And once in a while, I just make a referral up to Chad Sullivan, and he's the juvenile probation agent, and then the supervision of community service hours is actually logged in with an agent. Doesn't happen very often, but those people, the juvenile probation department has been really helpful. So, do you have other questions?
I have just another comment, and I really appreciate you coming and sharing all that information with us, because if you don't have a kid that's gone through municipal court, you really don't know all of the options and how restorative, justice focused it is.
Yes.
And how helpful it is. And I've heard lots of positive things about our municipal court, and particularly with how we handle juvenile cases that come through. And I also like that our organization as a whole, including the police department, is not focused on writing tickets to generate revenue. There's a lot of municipalities that their focus is on writing tickets, bring in more money. And I'm more inclined to promote community policing and restorative justice than I am for our police and our court systems to be looked at as revenue generators.
Officer Snyder at the schools is there early, he stays late, he knows the kids individually. The schools work with the officers really well, and so when I get a ticket on my desk, I know there's been a whole lot of things before that ever happened. And I can just trust it. I've got a pretty good rapport with principals. I try to be open to any info, and really the idea of the justice system is to be fair and reasonable. And what we all want, or at least I think the parents want, is for a young person to learn from their mistake. The phrase "not get caught again" is not what I'm looking for. And there are some parents who do that, and young people who do it. And we try to ferret out the difference. So thank you for your time. Anissa, it's always nice to work with you. I miss it.
Thank you for coming, and I'll tell Simon you said hi.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, thank you. This was very informative, and I'm so glad that you came and presented this to us, because not only just for us sitting here, but I think just the simple fact that our public, from watching our meetings on YouTube, it's just important. It's important for them to know, and one of the things that I have to say that I really like about this is your courses for the court. I wasn't aware that you did that type of a thing, but I just think that this whole setup is just incredible, and I thank both of you.
Thank you. I'd be lost without her.
That's
one
why we
other
gave her
thing
the award
is,
last year.
when a juvenile appears in front of me, I always have them back probably 2 or 3 more times. And actually the youth are pretty excited about it. And I set up a deal where, at the end they'll get a $25 forfeiture. And then I have a quick talk about, how's your grades? What's going on? And if the only A they have is study hall, then I try to set a deal with them. For every passing C, I give them $5 off that $25 forfeiture. Now, if I have a young student who is C's and B's, I set every A as $5 off. And so they have a chance to earn their way down to $10 or none. And then as I see them back in front of me, and they report and they give me their grades, and Chris actually has their attendance, and it's no new arrests, no skips, no tardies. And then that's where I work with the school. If I've got a young person who, let's say they just haven't made it for a whole week of school for 4 months, and I'll work with the school and say, okay, let's look at what's reasonable. If we shoot for 4 days a week, can I say to them they'll get $5 off that forfeiture? Or can we work with them? And I'll even make a deal where if they have lots of fines, that they get $5 off for each day they go to school. And then at the end of that week, I'll match that $5. If they go all week, no skips, no tardies, because the idea is to try to build good behavior. And, school can't do that. They're doing everything they can, but I have this kind of carrot and stick. And really, you'd be surprised, just that $5, I get kids coming back. And I'll say to them, well, do you want another 30 days? And they'll go, yeah, I'd like to try it. They give attention that's positive and structured and creates an opportunity for them with a known goal. And you would know that more than anyone. But it's really important to have them called back. It's lots more work for us, but we enjoy it. So, all right, thank you much.
If I can just jump in here
Thanks.
quick too. I appreciate your comments, Mayor, too, about the philosophical approaches. There are municipal courts elsewhere in the state whose political bodies require them to fund themselves and be self-sustaining with no other budget dollars than what we generate as a police department and a judge generates as a fine. This approach will never be self-sustaining. We will never make enough money through municipal court to completely pay for the program. That's also the right thing to do it that way. So, kind of a link to the next presentation when we talk about budget. I appreciate the council and the direction that you have given us through the years to not put that mandate on us. That police department, you need to write more tickets. Judge, you need to start doing more fines. I agree with you. This is the right approach to take for our community. It means that it has to be funded, but it's still the right thing to do.
Good job, council. Thank you. And here we go. Back to the budget. It's a dedication tonight. And I already did it. I already did it for everybody. I took one for the team. Happily. Oh yeah, she said she was walking home like before she even sat in her chair. Of course, somebody will have to follow her with a flashlight, but it's not going to be me. Budget.
So I put together a budget PowerPoint presentation. It's almost identical to the one that we just saw last week. My plan was if we had a large audience that I would go through it slide by slide again as I did on October 4th. But seeing as we literally
we
have
have
no one
a
here.
lot of ghosts.
Yeah.
And people here in spirit.
What I will do instead is I will kind of just fast forward to show what has changed since last week. And that's really only one change. Kelsey found that our levy actually increased more than what we had anticipated, and that was due to the TIF subtraction that we did. So that did bump up our levy. So ultimately what we did with that increase in levy is we restored a portion of the police chief recruitment that we had removed last week. So that's really the big change. How that impacts the budget is last week we talked about the overall tax rate would increase by 11 cents. With the increase in the levy, it now increases the tax rate by 17 cents. So it was a 6-cent increase on the tax rate. So clearly we are still, it's basically a flat budget for all intents and purposes. So that's the only change that existed between last week and this week. So there won't be any more new information. We have all of our state aid numbers in. We have our assessment ratio. We have all of the information in. The only thing that we are waiting for from a tax bill perspective, which has zero impact on our budget, is what the levy will ultimately be for the school district and for Blackhawk Tech or the county. So those are the only two pieces of information that will impact the tax bill, but will have zero impact on our budget. So what we've included in the packet tonight is essentially for lack of a term, balance sheet for our overall budget, which is shown on the attachment for agenda item, I think 11. So this shows kind of the ups and downs for each revenue and expenditure category for the budget. Now, obviously, the budget document itself is several hundred pages, but this is the document where the rubber meets the road. Behind each one of these numbers, there are multiple cost centers that make that number up, but this is, essentially, this is what was published in the Courier, or I'm sorry, the Gazette 3 weeks ago. This is the latest version of that. So we've seen this before, but this is now essentially the final numbers. Sure, that's all I have.
I was just gonna say, and this does include, I verified with Kelsey today, it does include 2,500
25,000.
or 25,000,
Yep.
yes, thank you, for our nonprofits.
That is
Although
correct.
it's not exactly what they requested, still, I feel like if we have the opportunity at a later time, I think that that's okay. I'm actually quite happy with this, the way that it looks.
Yeah, I think if it's a question between recruiting a new police chief or going without a police chief or giving our extra money to the nonprofits, I think we have an obligation to our community to have a police chief. So
Yeah, and
that's the only
just to be
thing.
clear, the levy capacity that was added did not fully restore the recruitment for the police chief. It was ended up being about 19,000, 17,000 ish. So we had projected $30,000, which is what it took us to get Scott. So we'll need more dollars at some point.
Yeah,
A lot
a lot more.
Yeah.
So I mean that we're going into next year with an unfunded expense that we know that we have. So
Likely, yes. Any
Okay.
other questions about the balance sheet before we open the public hearing and get the line started and take tickets and
calm the crowd.
any other?
Jenny has.
I did not check the sheet to see if anyone wanted to talk.
Okay.
Well, there could be somebody that wrote in invisible ink. Get it. Just ask the Ouija board. Ask the Ouija board if anybody's here that wants to speak. All right, let's open the public hearing. Can you get some crowd
Pause,
noise
Yeah.
or like the sitcom?
Yeah. Apparently there's 7 missing.
Well, not hearing or seeing anything from the real world or the spirit world, I am going to close the public hearing.
So again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them now or shoot me an email or give me a call. We can dive deeper into any of these numbers that folks want to have some background on. But the next step in the process would be on November 15th, which is our next regularly scheduled council meeting, would be to adopt this budget.
All right. Number 12.
Can we adopt this budget tonight?
We can, however, I would recommend against it because we have published our budget calendar and I wouldn't want anybody to feel like they were waiting for the 15th to drop
Make it
the
happen.
hammer. I don't know, but that's my thought. You guys can do whatever you want, but I would say
With your microphone off.
We'll wait to then.
I was just wondering, thank you.
Okay, so is that consensus just to go ahead with number 12 then? Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2022-27, creating Ward 11 within the city of Milton. And this is Jenny's.
So on September 20th, we had our last annexation, and this is more of a housekeeping thing, is that after the Wisconsin Elections Commission took a look at the annexation that we put in Ward 10, they stated that it should be placed in Ward 11 since it was not contiguous to Ward 10. So there's 2 items on the agenda. First, the resolution creating Ward 11, and then the ordinance that's going to be amending the ordinance that we approved for the annexation.
Questions or comments?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve resolution 2022-27, creating Ward 11.
Second?
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 2022-502, ordinance amending ordinance 2022-501, annexation ordinance, Agnew Farms Incorporated.
And now, since we've created the ward, now we have to put the annexation into that ward 11. So this is the original ordinance was 501, and then this is now 502, which would just amend that ordinance to put it in ward 11.
And Mark, is this a similar process to ordinance 501?
Yes.
Okay, go.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-501, annexation ordinance, Agnew Farm.
What we pay you for, Mark?
So, yeah, it's set up for the first reading, second reading, and
Yes,
waive those two, I assume.
that is correct.
And is it 502?
That is correct, yes, thank you.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding industrial lead track construction change order number 4.
This is a change order to allow for the extension of time and additional costs for the T-rail construction related to a suitable subgrade that was discovered during construction. The cost to remove the subgrade, replace it with appropriate material or satisfactory material, and time to complete that work and wrap up the project. The total cost is $50,189.25. The extension of time allows for final completion dates to be moved to December 16th. The T agreement allows for completion prior to December 31st. Any questions?
And all this cost, Mark, is picked up by the grant, is that right?
It's picked up by Clausen and the T agreement, correct? Or the T Transportation Economic Assistance Grant, yes.
Make a motion to approve change order number 4.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding the facility sign at the Public Works Garage, North Side, 150 North Side.
This is to purchase a sign. Howard Robinson retired in 2021 after serving the city for 31 years. The council had passed a resolution honoring Howard last year, and one of the items that was discussed was renaming the Public Works facility in his honor. This sign makes that noticeable and evident for passersby. The only change we had based on the sign quote detail that was provided was to use the language Howard Robinson Public Works Facility rather than municipal building. But yeah, just a thank you to Howie for his service and recognition for his work.
Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the new facility sign. Public Works.
All those in favor say aye. Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. General items and committee reports. Who would like to go first?
That's been a lot of committee meetings.
Okay, well, it seems like a lot longer. So much has happened since then. All right, so staff reports then?
Sure.
Or do you have a committee report?
I was gonna, I'll combine them.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll start with Mark.
Journey Hills Construction, they started their work on the first edition here this week. Woodcrest and Chapel, the binder asphalt's been installed, and they're working on yard restoration. Leaf collection's ongoing, so please shake your trees. But otherwise, Just
Are
kinda
you
know.
saying that the city does not provide that service? Tree shaking? There's got to be a machine that can shake trees. All right. Well, we'll see that in the budget next year, then, won't we? Kelsey.
No updates today.
Okay, we'll let you pass on that since you worked so hard on the budget, finding all sorts of new things. Inga? Okay, Chief?
So, the Milton Youth Coalition sponsored a trunk and treat outside of Charlottes over the weekend, and that was in conjunction with National Drug Take Back Day. And even though we have a 24-hour drop box in our lobby where people can come and go and drop things off as they wish, we still collected 45 pounds worth of medications from city residents so they can be safely disposed of and not in their house. So thank you to all that participated.
And it was like 4 big tubs worth.
2.5.
2.5,
We have,
okay.
Yeah, pretty good sized tubs that we do as part of our program. Yeah, I had to send patrol staff back here to get me more tubs because I was running out. So it was a good problem to have.
Yep. Inga, are you ready, or are we just gonna? Do you want to go last? Okay. Ashley.
Our Friends of Milton Public Library book sale is going on throughout the whole month of November. Today and tomorrow are friends only, so you can become a friend and get extra or first dibs at the books. Otherwise, it's during library hours. On Thursday, myself and the other Ashley are presenting at the Wisconsin Library Association conference in Lake Geneva. Ashley's presenting on how she's a one-woman marketing team for our library, and I'm going to be presenting with Michelle from the Aaron Public Library on fundraising and capital campaigns, because they're undergoing a capital campaign themselves right now. So, pretty exciting.
Nice. Jenny. No, I already granted her the last position. And I'm not ungranting.
Okay, so in 1 week, this room's gonna look a little different right now. So the election, if you didn't remember, the election is going to be in here. So I have a few facts. We have 606 total absentee ballots that have been issued, and of those for voting in person have been 184. So we've had quite a few people in the office. Then I thought this was kind of interesting. Throughout the state, there's 159,996 absentee ballots that have been issued at this time. So I thought that was a little interesting fact. But otherwise, we're just preparing for the election. And then also, on a completely separate note, the local government 101 class, we talked about we were ordering the documents so that we can have that all the time. And
Because
that
Eric
is-
has been waiting. He's been
Yes.
waiting.
So we do have all of those materials ready if anybody's interested in viewing them.
So Eric has raised his hand, and he will be contacting you with a date that he will be taking them home and eating popcorn in his cool little game room.
We can talk right after this.
Okay, that sounds good.
And then there is a small quiz that Jenny gives you when you return them. So,
I don't know if it's small.
okay, it's not small.
No.
Block out an hour. Al.
So, a couple things. Tomorrow night will be an incredibly historic event at the Fulton Town Hall in which all 10 municipalities will join together and formally sign the IGA, which will usher in our involvement, or I guess membership and ownership of what will be the Edgerton Fire Protection District, to be named later. So that is a very historic moment and a culmination of years of work. So it's exciting to see that come to fruition. It'll certainly be nice to see that happen. Second thing on kind of a more localized internal personal note. You see the room decorated in the way that it is. There was a lot more decorations in here yesterday. The culture of this organization has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. We had an event in here yesterday. It was a Halloween themed party, in which we provided food and accepted donations for United Way. And it was a great time. I mean, we got amazing feedback. We had representatives from all the departments come. 2 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened. People would have frowned upon it. They would have scoffed at it. They would have probably demeaned it, maybe even called some of you to complain about it. That's not happening anymore. This is a great group of people, and they were having fun and laughing and enjoying being with each other. And that is super important at a time when it is nearly impossible to be a public employee anymore. And we can't, the budget is the way it is. We can't throw money at people. But what we can do is create a great place to work, and I think that we've done that. And I'm super proud of, especially the guys from Public Works that came down here. We had games set up, and I thought, man, I don't know. I mean, they forced Mark and I to come back in the room to participate in the game because Mark and I were having a discussion. It was awesome. And we raised, I think, $100 for United Way, but it was just great. This place is it's just different, and it's awesome. And I'm so proud of the people that put it together. Kelsey, Inga, Jenny were instrumental in it. Taco Mark made an appearance. It was just great, and I just such kudos to everybody for understanding that there's more to life than just being angry. So that's what I'm at.
And did you have trick or treaters? Some kids?
On Friday.
On Friday. On Friday you did?
I was out.
Yeah.
No one came to visit us.
Absentee voters.
But there were no absentee voters in costume. I was a little disappointed.
And Inga.
Actually,
Oh.
we weren't sure that the lady in front of us when we came in to vote wasn't in costume. We both left and said, was she just dressed up or was that a Halloween costume?
You guys came in, yeah?
I'm not sure. So I'm gonna go on the side of no, she wasn't.
Everybody has their own style. Gotta respect it all. Inga.
Okay, so I feel like I should not have gone last. The only thing I wanted to say is that I had the opportunity to go to a few trainings in October. One of them was an adult mental health first aid training, so I have certification that's good for 3 years now. So that was a really impactful training and great to connect with some different people throughout Rock County as well. And then I'm involved with the Blackhawk Human Resource Association, and then I received a scholarship to be able to go to their state conference, the Wisconsin SHRM conference. So that was nice. Just there was 1,300 people there, so a lot of people to connect with and get to know more about HR. Again, should not have gone last. Should let Al go last.
Congratulations, and we're grateful to have you here and that you are involved in making connections for the city of Milton. So thank you. Anything else for anyone? So tomorrow we all get to hang out together again, and we get to meet new friends. So make sure you introduce yourself to the other elected officials because some of them you've never met before. So it's kind of exciting to be part of this group. And Mark S., are you going to be there?
He's opening the meeting.
All right, just double check it.
He's the referee. I mean, MC.
He's the conductor. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow night. And someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Good job. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? We're adjourned. Someone help Linda get home.